All right, everybody, welcome to Go Time. For those who don't know, my name is Michael Forrest, and welcome. Before we get going, I'm going to ask you guys, if you could not send me any text messages while I'm up here, because listen, when you get text messages and you're on stage performing, it's a lot like hitting a wall of text. It can really throw you off. It's not cool to do. So I'd appreciate that very much. Also, if you could stay off of the stage area here, this way nobody blocks the giant display behind me, right? And maybe and then it gives me a little bit of room to do the whole hosting thing too, right? You're going to notice there's a microphone icon at the very top of your menu wheel in your lower left. It kind of looks like this. And when that microphone icon is clear, that means we can hear you and everything that's happening in your environment, right? So if somebody comes into your space, right, and says, hey, are you still on that thing? You can feel free to answer them because we've gone ahead and we've turned it to red. And that means that you're muted. So if you have like a dog barking in the background or something like that, you're not going to face social ruin by becoming known as the avatar that suddenly started barking during its go time, right? Don't need that. So you don't have to worry about any of that stuff. Just because you're muted does not mean you can't express yourself. You're going to notice there's a pink cheek smiley face in your menu wheel. And when you press on it, your emoji panel is going to open up in front of you, and it's going to give you a wide variety of options to express yourself. So if, for example, I share something really deep, something really meaningful and powerful, and it starts to build up inside you, you can just let it out, just like that. Just let it flow. Maybe I got some backup dancers backstage, right? Maybe they come out, maybe we break into It's Go Time, the musical, and you're all very impressed with the production value. You can throw up the applause that I live for, and I can take a minute to drink it all in because it feels good, right? Now, maybe I ask you guys a yes or no question. You can say yes by smiling like that. You can say no by frowning like this. Maybe I say something funny, right? You feel like showing me you're laughing. You can do the silly face emoji here. Show me that you're laughing, right? And then there's this thing, all right? This is by far the most distracting of all the emojis. All right, now you're not going to want to use this to ask questions. We will be taking questions and comments at the end. But if something goes wrong during the performance, like I'm waving my hands around here, right? And you don't hear any sound. You're like, it looks like this guy's talking. Right, you can help me out by popping that up. And if I only see one, it might be somebody messing around, somebody to keep on going. But if I see 5 of you doing it, I know there's a problem I need to address. Like maybe our moderators have seen one go time too many, and they finally had it, and they decided to burn down the set again. Don't laugh, that's actually happened. Right, I got like a big fire behind me, and I'm like, hey, everybody, welcome to go time. And people are like, look behind you, right? And they're all going like this, right? That's our pact, our bond. You guys got to help me out, right? We're in this together. So if that happens, you can do that. Now, there's an X button in the middle of this emoji panel. That's going to close it, but it's a good idea to leave it open during events like this because, it gives me feedback. It lets me know how I'm doing. But more importantly, it lets the people around you know what you're experiencing, right? So if the person next to you starts going like this, that means they found something funny, and you may not agree. You might be like, well, that's not funny at all. I'm going to go stand over here. And you can do that. This is VR. You can stand where you want to, except maybe, the stage area, because as we agreed, this is our pact, right? This is our sacred bond, audience. All right, cool. So, let's get going here. Now, what is Go Time? Go Time is an event for Oculus Go users, but all are welcome. So if you're on the device, feel free to hang out. You may pick up some useful tips that'll help the very large Go community in Altspace. There's a lot of Go users in Altspace, and there's more arriving each and every day. Now, being on a Go, right, in Altspace is not without its challenges, okay? And speaking of challenges, I've been in bed for about the past 2 years due to a medical condition. It's really improved a lot. It's getting a lot better. But when I first came into Altspace, I could not wait for my headset to arrive because it represented like more mobility for me, right? And so I was waiting for this thing to arrive, and I'd been reading about Altspace for a while. And when the device finally came, I couldn't wait to get this on, and Altspace was my first stop. I couldn't wait to get in. And as soon as I stepped out of the load screen for the very first time, I looked up, and I couldn't believe what I saw. Right? It looked like a real sky, and I was very grateful for that. I was so grateful. I started volunteering for Altspace right away. Right. And I started moderating events. You know what I found out? I found out that I couldn't make it all the way to the end of the event because my battery wouldn't last. My device would die out before the event even finished. I'd have to charge up. I'd have to come back into Altspace and try to find the event host if I could and explain why I flaked out. Took some time to get going. And, so I got off to kind of a rough start. So I started asking questions. What can I do to improve my performance in Altspace so that my device would be more reliable and I could help out? The answers I got to those questions eventually led to this event, all right, so I could share what I learned with all of you. And, but I heard some things in the beginning, right, that kind of discouraged me. Like I heard that this laser pointer here, I heard that I wouldn't be able to work this thing on an Oculus Go. And you know what? That turned out to not be true. Everybody seemed to think that you couldn't use this on the go, and you absolutely can, right? And I mean, a couple of tricks to do it. Like if the problem was that it would stay stuck to your hand, and if that happens to you, you just hold it down to your side like this, and you'll be able to re-grab it, right? Little tricks like that, you learn as you go. And I heard some other stuff too. Like I heard that I wouldn't be able to work these slides up here, and that turned out to not be true. And I was told that despite having a background presenting material like this, all right, that my device was not reliable enough for me to host events. And you know what? I've hosted over 300 events in Altspace, and more than half of them I did on an Oculus Go. I like to think I did a pretty good job, and you can too, right? So you can't be limited by that kind of thing, by that kind of thinking, all right? Now you're going to see that, now this doesn't mean that there aren't problems being on the go. There are, but most of these problems can be solved, and the ones that can't, they can be managed, all right? And I'm going to show you how to do that. There's two paths you can take. One, we're going to start with the device that's already on your head. You can learn some stuff here today before you even leave. Your device is going to be performing better, all right? The other path you can take is you can upgrade your experience to exceed the limitations of your device. And if you've been here before, I can't stand that term, right? You'll see this on the Discord. They'll say lesser device, limited device. And it doesn't feel too good when you hear terms like that. You paid a lot of money for your device. And listen, the Go is an incredible device. It's a great introduction to VR, right? Now, when I first came in Altspace, if I came in, I'm on a Quest now, but if I came in on the Quest, I would not have stayed. All right, because on the go, you don't have to worry about vertical movement. You don't have to worry about the complexity of two controllers, and it allows you to get used to VR at your own pace, and that's something you should feel good about. All right, and it also has made VR very accessible to a lot of people. All right, so if you hear terms like this, it's important to remember, okay, that you are not your device. There's another term that gets thrown around Altspace a lot, and that's communities. There's a lot of rich and diverse communities represented in Altspace, and the important part of those communities is you, not your device. Right? You're not your device any more than you are your house or your car. And it's important to keep that in mind if you hear that kind of stuff. All right. Now let's get started with the device you already have on your head. You may not realize this, but your device loses power even when it's not in use. Right. So if you put it on the table at night and it's got 100% power, by morning that charge is going to be much less. Right. And if you come into Altspace with say a 20% charge, you're going to notice that your screen is going to flicker around. It's not going to perform as well. So what you want to do is a little bit of advanced planning and plugging your device an hour before, maybe the event you want to go to starts. Like if you're, looking on a schedule to see what's coming up and you're like, oh, go time's on tonight. I've heard good things about the host. I heard he's got this hair and the shirt you're starting to see everywhere, right? And, you want to go to it. So you want to plug your device in about an hour before you come in. This way you're starting off with 100%. This way you're starting off, the best possible way, right? And what you want to do when you put your device on your head for the first time, that power button you press to turn it on? Right? Make this a habit. Do this every single time. Make it part of your startup process. And once it's on your head, right, and you're at the Oculus home screen, press and hold that power button down for about 4 seconds. And you're going to see these 3 buttons appear in the air, and that middle button is going to be the restart button. And when you press it, your device is going to restart, but this is going to clear out all the temporary files, because one of the reasons that your device loses power is because it's checking for updates to apps, to the firmware. Maybe it's got a pen pal on the other side of the world. Maybe your headset has a whole secret life you don't know anything about. And that can be devastating to find out something like that. You're like, I thought I knew you, headset. I thought I knew you, But, so if that happens to you, what you do is you're going to want to make sure you have a full charge when you come in and you've restarted the device to clear out all the temporary files. And then when you head in the load screen, you finally arrive at Altspace. You may have noticed by now what an important role body language plays in here. People say a lot without actually saying anything. Like if you're at an event like this and a moderator comes up to you, right, and they're shaking their head slow like that, and you get the feeling all throughout your avatar body that you shouldn't be doing that thing, and you're like, oh, and you back up and you're like, all right, man, all right, I'm not going to do that thing, right? Or maybe somebody makes it up on the stage, right, and I go like this without me saying a word. You guys know this means get off my stage, right? So if that happens, what can happen on an Oculus Go is occasionally you're going to notice that your hand, right, does not match where your real hand is in the real world. So if you're in the real world, your hand is right here, your avatar's hand might be up here. So that when I go to wave somebody off the stage, instead of waving somebody off the stage, what's going to happen is my arm's going to be flying around like this. It's going to look like I'm going, hey, everybody, welcome to Go Time. And I'm not saying that. I'm saying get off my stage. I'm a trained professional. It can be very dangerous. Someone's going to get hurt. We're not insured for that. All right. So what you can do, if this happens to you, is you're going to notice on your control, you have your trackpad, and below that you have a button, and below that you have a button, right? So if you put your hand at your side and you look straight ahead, and you hold down that bottom button and don't let go, because if you only press it once, you're going to disappear, and I'm going to feel it. Got a small audience today. But if you hold it at your side and hold that button for about 3 seconds, and this you can try now, you're going to see a white circle spin in the air in front of you, right? And when that happens, your hand is going to, and when that circle completes, your hand is going to snap into place, just like that, right? And now you take a good look at your hand and you ask yourself, is this where my hand is in the real world? Now, if it is, then you're good. right? If not, do it again as many times as it takes for you to feel comfortable, and only you can decide what's comfortable for you. You'll find that spot, and once you feel more comfortable like that, your body language is going to become a lot more convincing, and you're going to find that this actually affects how you interact with people in Altspace, all right? When you have that body language going for you, that can really help out a lot. All right, now another thing that's going to happen every so often is you're going to notice that menu wheel, that collection of circles in your lower left, that's going to move around every so often, right? And so sometimes it'll move like it's in front of you, and you're going to feel like, a little off balance, or maybe it actually moves behind you and you can't even reach it, right? And you're like, well, how do I open the main menu? If I can't reach it, I can't even see the thing, right? It's important to remember that on an Oculus Go, your main menu is in your hands at all times, all right? You're going to notice on your controller, you've got the trackpad, and just below that trackpad, you have a button, and then there's another button on the bottom. That middle button right there, that's your main menu button. You don't have to press that blue and white triangle button if you don't want to. You can just do it with your controller, right? And what you can do is when that menu opens, if you're looking straight ahead while it's open and you press that menu button again, when that menu button closes, that collection of circles in your menu wheel will be exactly where it's supposed to be in your lower left. So that's a great way to reposition it. It'll bring back your emoji panel if you've lost it. It's a good way to get that back if that should happen to you. All right, now another thing that you can do is occasionally you're going to notice one of the first pieces of advice I got in there. Remember I said I kept running out of power, right? One of the first pieces of useful advice I got about the Go was somebody told me to turn down my brightness. And I didn't want to do it. I want to have the best graphic experience I could possibly have in Altspace. And to me, that meant having my brightness turned way up to like retina burning levels. I mean, it was painful, but my graphics were awesome. Or so I thought, right? I was desperate to get, the performance better. So what I did was every time I came into Altspace, I would go to the Oculus main menu, when you first start the device up, and I'd go over to the right side where it said settings, and, then I would see brightness in the middle. I turn auto brightness off so I could adjust manually, and there'd be this big blue bar there. And every time I came into Altspace, I turned that blue bar down a little bit more and a little bit more until finally there was no more brightness on at all. It was completely off, and I came into Altspace, and I couldn't believe it. I went to this space where I used to help out, and all the moderators would gather before the event started beneath this tree, to catch up and stuff. And I'm walking over to the group, and I see that tree like I'd seen hundreds of times before, and I just stopped. And I looked up, and I couldn't believe it. It was more realistic than they'd ever seen it before. When you turn your brightness all the way down like that, your graphics actually improve, right? And it's going to improve performance, and most importantly, your battery is going to last longer. So there's no reason not to try that. It'll really help out. Your battery will last a lot longer. Your performance will be better. It's absolutely worth doing that. Now, another thing, you're going to notice in Altspace that Oculus Go users don't have the best reputation, and I'll tell you why. It's because on the Go, we have a very powerful microphone in our device. And when the sound comes up out of your ear straps, right, it gets picked up by the microphone and projected out of your avatar into Altspace. Now, the problem is we can't hear the sounds we make in Altspace. I was presenting in Altspace for like close to a year before I actually heard what I sounded like in here. We just got a Raven Eye, that's our YouTube channel. See Raven Eye floating in the air there? That's a YouTube channel. If you want to feel Altspace famous, you can turn around and wave, and we can be like, we've got your boys here. We've got Torek Thomas here. We've got Mr. Stir Fry. We've also got Lily here. You can wave on out there and feel Altspace famous and watch for, that coming on our YouTube channel. So, hey, YouTube, how's it going? Come on into Altspace. It's great in here. But before that happened, I didn't know what I sounded like in here, right? So we can't really hear ourselves. And what can happen is we could be standing at a campfire catching up like I'm talking to Lily, and I'm like, hey, Lily, how's it going? Did you hear about that thing that happened? I couldn't believe it, right? And then all of a sudden, I hear a voice, and that voice is incredibly dynamic and familiar. And I turn around, and what I actually see is my voice coming out of your avatar as you're approaching, right? And a lot of times what will happen is somebody will go up to you like this and go, are you want to go? Are you want to go? And that can feel like kind of off-putting, right? But it's because what they're experiencing is off-putting too. They're hearing their own voice reflected back at them as it was in the past, because there's a little bit of a sound delay in Altspace. So it's kind of like when somebody copies you, it can make it you're kind of hard to talk to. Fortunately, it's really easy to manage this. You're going to notice on your headset that you have two buttons on the top left, right? The leftmost button is the volume down button, and just next to that's the volume up button. And when you press either of these, all these vertical bars will appear in the air in front of you. Some will be solid and some will be clear. What you're going for is 4 clear vertical bars on the right side. This means that your volume will be 4 ticks away from the maximum. And what will happen is the volume will be at such a level that the microphone won't pick it up as easily. All right. And this will make the level more comfortable so that you won't be getting that feedback or echo effect. All right. But this comes at a price. All right. Occasionally you're going to be struggling to hear people, and you're going to be like, what did you say? Right. But it turns out you still have one good hand in the real world, right? And you can use this. If you take your left hand right now and hold it up to your ear strap and make like a little cup shape to your ear, you're going to notice the sound of my voice increases. And this is a way to temporarily raise the volume So if you need somebody to repeat themselves, you'll be able to hear it. One surefire way to fix this is what you're going to want to do is you can attach a pair of headphones to your device, and this way, the only sound coming out of your avatar will be your own. You could also use a pair of, inexpensive earbuds. Like me, I acquired some earbuds like that. And once I got these earbuds in, it took care of that echo problem. And I started to wonder, what else could I add to the device to improve the experience, right? Because, I mean, listen, after this, the only sound coming out of my avatar was my own, so it fixed that problem. But I mean, occasionally you'd still hear a family member come in and say, hey, are you still on that thing? But you can fix that too. Get them their own headset so they can come into VR with you and you can share the experience. That's a lot of fun when you see somebody in VR here with you. But this got me thinking, what else can I add to the device that would improve my performance? How can I make this experience better? And I came up with what I call the Go Plus experience. And I call it this because I didn't feel like I was a Go user anymore, because I would go to an event or to a space that was very performance heavy, and you'd see a lot of Go users disappearing, or crashing as devices overheated and stuff. And I would still be there because my device, after I did the things I'm about to talk about, became super reliable, and yours can too. All you have to do is make a few small changes, and to discuss them, in order to show you how to do that, I'm going to have to discuss these products behind me. But I like to tell everybody, it's not these products that matter. All right, it's the ideas behind these products that matter. So if you find like another price point, or another device you want to try, or another different approach to solving the problem, all right, feel free to do that and come back to Go Time and let us know how you made out. I love hearing like different solutions that people come up with to solve some of these issues. Right. The first issue I wanted to handle was the power problem. Now, listen, I know the temptation is going to be to write these products down. That's hard to do when you're in VR, right? To write things down. All right, so we made it easy for you to find when you get out of VR. If you go to altvr.com and you go up to where it says channels, right, you're going to see all these Altspace event channels listed there. And among them, down toward the bottom, you're going to see Ravenhall events, like it says on that sound booth up there. And when you do that, you're gonna see our event page come up in front of you, and on the left-hand side, you're gonna see all these products listed out there. You're gonna see the Join Discord button listed. That'll allow you to ask us questions and things like that. You're also gonna see the subscribe button, right? If you press that, it lets Altspace know you enjoy our content. We don't get paid to do this, so it's a great way to say thank you. Yeah, subscribing to our YouTube's even better, right? But you're gonna see all those products there listed if you want to try any of them. All right. That said, let me tell you what these things do. All right. The first product we're gonna discuss is the Anker Power Core Battery Pack. Right. This was going to solve my power problem. All right. It lasted about 16 hours. And, because, Oculus says not to use our devices while they're plugged in, but they say using an external battery pack is okay. So I figured this is where I would try to solve the power problem. But around the time that I did this, when I ordered it, I'd heard a lot of people were having problems charging their devices. And I could see why, too. Do you notice how the power cord is very tight when you plug it in? Right, all that wear and tear, it's not going to make, after all, using, if you're coming in Altspace a lot, using it every single day, there's going to be a lot of wear and tear, and after a while, it's not going to make proper contact and it won't charge as effectively. So I found this middle product here called a MagSafe cable. One tip plugs into your headset, so the tip stays in there, so there'll be no more wear and tear on the port. The other end's a USB cable that plugs into the battery pack, right? And it's held in place by a magnetic connector, right? And this is a great safety feature too, because when you move your head, right, and maybe say like the wire gets pulled on, right, instead of having your headset get pulled down and have your world turn upside down, it'll just pop off because it's just a magnet. You don't even have to come out of VR to fix it. You can just hold it up there to the side of the headset and kind of thunk into place like that. And if your microphone is open, what's going to happen is people will hear that thunk sound and be like, what was that? You'd be like, that was power. That was that. That's what that was. You don't have to actually say that. Right. I just thought it was fun to do. Right. So we can, do that whole thing. All right. So now this solved like for that, and I started lasting longer in events, but now I had a new problem. I started overheating all the time. Any of you guys overheat in Altspace a lot? All right. Anybody have to overheat all the time? All right. It's a common problem on the go, especially in Altspace. All right. Good. I'm seeing a lot of you doing it. All right. Now, how do you solve this? I've heard some people use ice packs and like frozen bag of peas. I do not believe in doing this because when you put like ice or anything like that cold on your headset, you're going to get condensation. So let's see. You got water and electricity on your face. All right. That's probably not a good combination. All right. And I know that people who have done this actually went through more than one device. Right. So that's probably not the best thing to do. Right. So, but it turns out you can actually solve this without, having to, raid the freezer in your house. Right. And all that wear and tear. What you can do is you can get a USB mini fan here, by a company called AC Infinity. Right. And what you want to do is you want to put this on your device so that the silver part is facing your faceplate. And now you're going to have to attach it. Some people will use, string. So in my case, I use 2 large hair bands, and you made like an X, attach it to your ear straps, and you make like an X shape and wrap it around the front of your device and attach it to the round rubber feet on there. Now, when I first came in Altspace to test this, I was set to moderate at the meditation event. Now, if you've never been there, it's an incredible space. It's on top of a mountain. There's smoke coming up out of the bowls, like sunlight coming down through the fog. It's awesome. But for some reason, I always would overheat exactly 20 minutes into the experience. So I figured this was a great place to test it. So I get the day my fan arrived, I got my battery pack, I got my MagSafe cable, right? I got my fan, and you'd ever seen Star Trek, the Borg? That's what I felt like, because I had all the wires coming down from the device, somewhat for like a wireless experience, right? But I, tried this out. I come in and I walk up to the host, Jeremy, super nice guy, and I ask him, I said, can you hear my fan? And he says, not at all, right? And oh, that's awesome. So I turned it up to medium, and I said, can you hear it now? And he says, well, I can hear it, but it's not that bad. So then I turned it up to the highest setting, and he yells at me. He goes, you sound like you're in a wind tunnel. You're going to want to turn that down. And I went, okay. And I turned it down to the lowest settings, right? And spoiler alert, I never had to turn it up again. This is what happened. I went through the experience 20 minutes in where I would usually overheat. I did not. The event finished, and I hadn't overheated at all. So I was like, this is cool. I wonder how far I can go. So I went to a second event, and I didn't overheat at all. This is awesome. I went to a third event. I didn't overheat once. Then I went to my home space to hang out with some friends. I was there for a while, and then it happened. For the very first time, I left Altspace by choice. I didn't leave because I was overheating. I didn't leave because I was out of power. I left because I actually wanted to. Right? And that was the first time that it ever happened in Altspace, and not the last. After that, I became super active in Altspace. I started hosting events, moderating events. I was everywhere. I became super active in the community, and you can too. You don't have to really make too many changes to do this, and none of this stuff is very expensive. You're going to notice on the very bottom here, this AC Infinity mini fan. This is about $10 or $11 US. You've got the MagSafe cables, about $7 US, and you've got the Anker Power Core battery pack. That's the most expensive thing up here. That's about $30 or so US, and that comes in a variety of sizes and colors, capacity. Because you may not need the battery to go 16 hours, right? You may only need it to run for a couple to a few hours in the evening. That might suit your needs better, and you can save a little bit of money there. So you got to find what works best for you. All right, but now there were still other problems being on a Go in Altspace, and these were more like annoyances to manage, right? Like say I'm hanging out in the campfire and I go to turn left to say something to Larry, right? And when I go to turn left, I go straight, and I'm like, well, that was weird, right? So then I go to turn right to say something, tell Lily about what happened, and I go straight again, and I'm like, I didn't mean to do that, right? So I go to back up, I press down on my controller, and I go straight again, and I'm like, what's going on? So I panic and I start, pressing all the buttons on the controller, and I keep moving forward no matter what I do, and the next thing you know, I'm standing inside of an admin. Well, I don't know about you guys, but there's nothing more frightening than standing inside of an admin. When I was in there, I saw things about user development. I saw things about the past. I saw things about the future. I saw things that keep me up at night. I can't even talk about it. What I can talk about is how to fix this if it happens to you. All right, if you find yourself moving in ways that you don't want to, all you have to do is kind of reset the touch pad on your controller. And the way you do this, you got to remember that the touchpad is sensitive to heat, moisture, and of course touch. Without pressing down hard, all you have to do is take your thumb and swipe it across your controller from right to left or left to right. The direction doesn't matter. And when you get to the other side, all you have to do is lift your thumb up, cross over the controller, come down on the other side, and swipe again. So what you end up doing is going swipe, swipe, swipe like that, and then come down in the direction that you want to move, and you'll be moving in the way that you want to. And that'll take care of that for you. And it'll become a reflex after a while. Like if I turn left and I end up going straight, all I go swipe, 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 and then I go left again, and then I turn the way I want to. All right, so that'll take care of that if it happens to you. Now, you're going to find every so often when you put your headset on, you're going to get a message that says can't find controller. All right. Now, maybe, you hadn't put a fresh battery in it. It can be that. But you put a fresh battery in it last night and you're still getting this message. All right. Because for one reason or another, your controller's not talking to your headset anymore. Right. Maybe your controller found out about your headset's secret life. Right. And wasn't too happy about it and said, you know what? It's got to stop. I'm not going to talk to you anymore. That's it. So what can happen there, what you do, if this happens to you, you don't even have to take your headset off to fix this. All you have to do, right, is on your controller, you've got these two buttons, right, just below the trackpad. And now it turns out when you press both of these buttons down at the same time for about 4 seconds, you're going to see a little white light appear on your trackpad. Now, if you're wearing your headset, you're not going to see this, but what you will see when you lift your thumb back up is you're going to have your hand back, and you can go into the load screen, and you can be like, man, I am glad I went to Go Time. That Michael Forrest, he knew what he was talking about. He told me to double down, which I didn't tell you to do, but that's a great way to remember it, right? You double down. You press those two buttons on the bottom, you hold it down there, and you'll get your hand back, all right? So that'll take care of that, and then you'll be on time for your event or whatever, and, so if that happens to you, you're welcome. All right, now another thing that can happen is every so often you're going to notice that your screen goes dark. Now, you're still going to be able to hear, and you're still going to be able to talk if your microphone is open, right? But your screen's going to go dark. And the reason this happens, this isn't just Go, this is all mobile devices. When you're on a mobile device, you got to, rely on the memory of the device, and all the stuff that's in this space takes up memory. Stage takes up memory, My avatar takes up memory. That big red shiny button on the wall here, that takes up memory. That's a cool effect. Stick around to the end. We're going to use it at the end. That button, it does some cool stuff if you haven't seen it yet. But all this stuff is going to take up memory. And when your memory fills up, what's going to happen is your screen's going to go dark, right? And then all you have to do is press the bottom button on your controller one time. You got to think of that like an eject button, right? When you press that one time, you're going to see these buttons appear that say quit or resume, right? If you press quit, it's going to close the app, and then you can restart the app and come in as normal. We'll take care of that. Now, one of the things you can do is, listen, if you've been world hopping into about 3 different worlds, and then your friend asks you to go to the campfire, you know you've got a lot of stuff in your headset memory-wise, because like after you leave here today, this stage is still going to be in your headset, right? When you go back to the campfire, you're going to find, that red button is still in your headset. You're not even thinking about go time anymore, but your headset still is, right? So if you've just been to 3 worlds and your friend says, let's go to the campfire, all you have to do is say, yeah, I'll meet you there in a minute. And then just hit that bottom button to eject out, quit the app, restart the app, and this will give you the chance to manually set your memory so this won't happen to you randomly in the middle of a conversation, right? It's a good way to manage it. Another thing that can happen is, around this time I usually give out some world building tips, but I'm running a little short on time. If you want me to include this, throw up some hearts, and we'll give you some world building tips. If not, we'll skip over it. All right, so we got 1 for the heart, so that's 1 person in here wants them. All right, anybody else? That's 2. Okay, so 2 people want the world. 3. Okay, all right, cool. Kind of a minority. I don't know which way I should go on here. Anybody else? Give me some frownies if you don't want me to do it. Any frownies if you don't want me to do it? Any frownies? Nobody's really against this? All right, cool. Let's go through it. What you're going to find is when you are a world builder in Altspace, you got to be in the world's beta building program, which is not easy to say. You do this through your main menu under settings, and you go to general, and you just turn that little slider on there, and then you'll be able to build worlds in Altspace, right? And I used to go to an event called Building Worlds, clever name, right? And you'd hear a lot of Go users come in there and say they couldn't build worlds on an Oculus Go. They said it was too hard. But then you had other people, that were building worlds on Go, and they did really incredible work. They build amazing worlds on Oculus Go, and it really is a great device capable of remarkable precision. And so why did people think this, right? People get this impression because when you work with the world editor, right, and you grab an object with your controller, all of a sudden an object starts going around all over the place. And you're like, what's going on, right? And it turns out that it's actually your head that's controlling the movement, right? And you're like, oh, okay. So what you want to do is if you go into the world editor, you're going to notice that there is a white checkbox that says lock rotation. Right now, when you click on lock rotation, this is like your best friend as a world builder on a Go, right? Because now, if you squeeze and release your trigger on an object that you want to edit, you only squeeze and release it 1 time. Now you'll be able to level it with your hand. And once you get it at the level you want, you just squeeze and release the trigger again 1 time, and it'll kind of let go of the object. And then you can take a look at it and be like, well, that's kind of level. It makes a good mustache, right? That's good. So what you can do there, right now, what you can do is squeeze and hold that trigger, all right? And as you squeeze and hold it, now you can move your hand up, down, left, and right to position the object. If you swipe your thumb across the trackpad from left to, I didn't mean to shoot anybody. It's a dangerous laser pointer. But if you swipe your thumb left or right on the trackpad, it's going to increase the size or the scale of the object. If you swipe your thumb up or down, it's going to move the object further away or closer to you. And you can also hold the trigger button on it to actually manually carry it where you want it and be like, let's place this on the edge of the stage here, like that, right? And you're going to find that, all right, look, if this was the real world right now, this pointer would be on the floor, right? And that doesn't really look too nice, right? But what you can do is on an Oculus Go, when you're building worlds, you don't have to get it exactly perfect. You just get it near where you want it to be. Now, once it's there, you're going to go into your world editor, right? And there's going to be a panel that opens up, and it's going to show all the objects that are that you want to have in this space. And you're going to see there's a laser pointer on that list that we have in this space, and there'll be a cogwheel next to it. And when you press on that cogwheel, a panel's going to open with all these numbers on it. There'll be numbers, for position, for rotation, for the scale or the size. And what you're going to want to do when you're new is you're going to want to play with these numbers and change them by small amounts. So let's say in the position area where it says X, right, it says 20, right, for X. And we lower that to say 19. And all of a sudden, when we hit enter, the pointer jumps over to here, right? Just by doing that, I can tell that any object in this space, when I move it, down on an X, it's going to move in the direction of that window. That must mean if I raise the number to a higher value, like if I moved it to 21, it's probably going to go like over here. And that must mean that if I do something on the Z axis, it's going to move in that direction or that direction. And Y is always up and down. right? So, you do this, and then you place another object, and then another, and it gets easier and easier. And before you know it, you have a world of your very own that you built yourself that you can share with your friends, or you can maybe use for your events or something like that, right? But where do people get the idea that, like, listen, typing in these values, you get that little keyboard they give us to message each other, right? It could, you could be a little slow poking these messages out, right? But it turns out this is like a lot like when when you get a new video game and you're worried about the controls, and that's all you're thinking about when you first start playing is how do I move around and stuff. But after about a week, you don't think about any of that stuff. After about a week, you're thinking about, saving the world. You're thinking about crushing your enemies. That's a great way to, spend a Wednesday, right? So basically, the more you do it, the quicker you're going to get. All right. So, and after a while, you're going to, build a lot of great worlds. There's a lot of very talented Go users that, have built worlds in Altspace, really, really incredible work. And, you could be, one of them. So, try that out and see if that helps. All right, now at this point, we're going to be taking any of your questions or comments. You're going to notice in your lower right, there's going to be a raise hand button that appears as if by magic, because that's what magic looks like when you're in VR, right? And if you have a question or a comment that you'd like to make, just press that raise hand button, and we'll call on you, and I'll get to feel like a radio show host or anything. I'm not seeing anybody appear on the list, but while we wait for it to fill up, if you are on Twitter and you want to follow us, you can find it at __Uncanny Valley, right? And, I know that looks like one underscore, but it is actually two. All right, we've got Dramatic. Now, that's a cool name. I like the way you spelled that. That's pretty cool. I can't see the full name, though. Dramatic, you're on the air. Where are you? Dramatic. Oh, yeah, that's the whole name. Cool name. What's up?
Thank you. So you were saying about building worlds and everything like that. Now, a lot of people import a lot of different things for the worlds. Like, where do they get those things from? Like, I see themed ones like Halloween or Freddy Krueger or how.
That's a great question. That is a great question. All right. One of the ways you can get a lot of items in is people use kits, right? There's kits filled with different objects. You can think of them like toy boxes or like your theme, things like that. And you can get that by if you go into your main menu and go to General. All right, you're going to see a slider that says Enable Early Access. All right, now this will give you access to a lot of user-generated kits. Some are made, I think some are made by Altspace too, but you're going to have access to a lot of these kits with a lot of objects in it. Another way you can do it is through a program called Unity, where you can bring in custom objects. Right, and if you'd like to learn more about that, I can't recommend going to the SDK meetup enough. Right, on Wednesdays and Thursdays, you'll see. They also have this on the YouTube videos if the time isn't good. But the SDK meetup, they cover how to bring in and create your own custom content to bring into worlds. And that'll allow you to kind of really make your own individual experience. But just starting out as a world builder, if you go into the an early access program, it's going to give you access to a lot of different kits. Like moving animals, moving animated, and really there's no limit to what you can do in terms of building worlds. Just kits that they give you for free. And it's it's really just a lot of great stuff. They have like moving animals, and they have fireworks, and they like maybe you want to have a campfire with a moving fire. They have all that stuff in there. They think they even have some sound effects stuff, which is pretty neat too. All right, I don't see anybody else on the list, but if you do have any more questions, we'll be happy to take them at the Ravenhall Flight Academy, where we teach everybody to fly at the end of events. I encourage you to come here because, if you want to see what a world looks like that's built on an Oculus Go, we built that world in less than 2 days on an Oculus Go. And also, there's these ships that you can fly around in. It's a lot of fun. And we're going to actually see one of those ships now and take us out there. All right, what I'm going to do is I'm going to press this red Talon call button here. When I press this, if you look out the window, you're going to see a Ravenhall Talon hovercraft fly by the window. And again, you can fly these ships if you want to. And they'll go up over the trees, and it'll come down in the backyard where we'll head out. Okay, so I'm going to press this now. So direct your attention out the window. There it goes. All right, let's go head on outside. Right. And listen, if you've learned anything here today, please share it with those you come in contact with. So if somebody's in the campfire, like, oh, my face is on fire, I'm an Oculus, so it's overheating all the time. Tell them about the fan. Tell them where to find it. Tell them about our event channel page. Tell them about Go Time. Tell them to check us out on YouTube and stuff, right? And then you'll feel better because you've helped somebody, and that's kind of how we keep this thing going, right?
Talon aircraft is now boarding outside for transport to the Ravenhall Flight Academy. Please exit the building and step into the blue light. Thank you.
All right, everybody. Thanks for coming. You're a great audience. I'll see you next time.